Have you ever been made to feel guilty for wanting more out of life? More freedom, more success, more peace. We're taught to be grateful, but somewhere along the way, gratitude turned into guilt for ambition. This audiobook, Never Apologize for Wanting More, Build the Life You Deserve, challenges that belief. It's not about greed, it's about growth. It's about realizing that the desire for more isn't a flaw, it's a sign that you're ready to evolve. So, if you've ever been told to settle, to shrink, or to just be content, this message is for you. Because the truth is simple. You don't need permission to dream bigger. You just need the courage to stop apologizing for it. Chapter 1. Embrace your desires. Your desires are not flaws, they are clues to your purpose. Too often, we silence them because we're told that wanting more is selfish, or that ambition somehow means we're ungrateful for what we already have. From a young age, many of us are taught to be content to accept what is given, to not reach too far, to avoid appearing greedy. But desire, when understood correctly, is not greed at all. It's energy. It's movement. It's life itself asking you to grow. Think about it: everything that exists in your life today once started as a desire. The home you live in, the skills you've learned, the relationships you've built, each began with a simple thought: I want this. Desire is the seed of every act of creation. Without it, there is no progress, no innovation, and no fulfillment. When you suppress your desires, you suppress your potential. You begin to shrink to fit a world that was never meant to contain you. Embracing your desires means giving yourself permission to want to truly want, without apology or shame. It means looking inward and asking yourself, what do I really crave? Not in a shallow or materialistic way, but in the deeper sense of the word. What kind of life makes you feel alive? What experiences excite your heart, challenge your mind, and bring you a sense of peace or purpose? Too often, we bury these questions under routine, fear, or social expectation. We tell ourselves that our dreams are unrealistic, that it's too late, that other people would never understand. But that inner voice, the one that keeps whispering that there's something more, isn't wrong. It's your soul's compass trying to guide you home. Desire doesn't have to mean chasing fame, wealth, or recognition, unless those things genuinely align with who you are. Sometimes desire shows up as the longing to create something meaningful, to heal, to teach, to explore. It could be the desire to live a simpler life, closer to nature, or to find love that feels true. It might even be the quiet yearning for more self-understanding or peace within. Whatever form it takes, your desire reveals your direction. It tells you what matters most to you, even when you've forgotten to listen. But many of us have learned to distrust that voice. We've been told that desire leads to disappointment, or that it distracts us from gratitude. In truth, gratitude and desire are not enemies. They are partners. Gratitude keeps you grounded in the present, while desire calls you toward the future. Gratitude says, I am thankful for what I have. Desire says, I am excited for what's next. When these two work together, you live in both contentment and growth. You can appreciate today while reaching for tomorrow. Ask yourself honestly, what have you been denying? What parts of your life feel incomplete or stagnant? And what desires have you pushed aside because they felt inconvenient or impractical? Maybe it's the desire to start a business, write a book, travel, or make a career change. Maybe it's the simple desire to have more time for yourself, to rest, to create, or to connect. Whatever it is, denying your desires doesn't make them disappear. It only turns them into quiet resentment or frustration. That's why so many people feel stuck or unsatisfied, even when their lives look fine on the outside. Their soul is trying to move, but they're holding it back. To embrace your desires you must also learn to separate genuine longing from imitation desire. Society sells us a version of more that's often shallow: more money, more things, more attention. But real desire feels different. It's not about proving something or keeping up with others. It's about expansion. It energizes you, not drains you. When you think about a true desire, it feels exciting and peaceful at the same time. It feels like truth. False desires often come with anxiety or competition. They're noisy and restless. Real desires whisper quietly but persistently. They keep coming back, year after year, even when you try to ignore them. The next step is courage, because once you recognize a true desire, the natural question becomes, what am I going to do about it? And that's where fear shows up. Fear will tell you it's impossible, irresponsible, or too late. It will remind you of every time you've failed, every judgment you might face, every uncertainty that lies ahead. But here's what the audiobook reminds us. Fear doesn't mean stop. Fear simply means you're standing at the edge of growth. If you weren't about to expand, you wouldn't feel afraid. Instead of running from that feeling, learn to use it as fuel. Let your desire be stronger than your fear. Every person who's ever done something remarkable, big or small, has felt the same fear. The difference is that they didn't let it decide for them. They allowed their desire to lead, even when the path wasn't clear. Embracing your desires also means being patient. Just because you know what you want doesn't mean it will arrive instantly. The process of creating a life aligned with your desires is gradual, full of lessons, adjustments, and surprises. But every step toward your desire, no matter how small, reshapes who you are. The journey itself becomes part of your becoming. Start by paying attention. Notice what excites you. Notice when your energy rises and when it drops. Notice what you daydream about, what you research late at night, what you envy in others, not because you want to copy them, but because they reflect something within you that's ready to emerge. These are not random impulses. They are messages. Write them down, speak them out loud, share them with someone who supports you. The moment you give voice to a desire, it becomes real. And the more real it becomes, the more opportunities begin to align with it. That's the quiet magic of self-honesty. Remember, you are allowed to want more. You are allowed to outgrow old versions of yourself. You are allowed to want a life that feels richer, freer, more alive. This isn't selfish, it's responsible. When you honor your desires, you become more vibrant, more creative, more generous. You show others what's possible when a person stops apologizing for wanting more. So today, give yourself permission to listen. Ask yourself, what have I been longing for that I've been afraid to admit? What would my life look like if I followed that pull, even just a little? Because your desires are not random. They are the roadmap to your purpose, and the moment you stop silencing them, you begin to see what's truly possible for your life. Your desire is not the problem, it's the invitation. It's life itself asking you to grow. Chapter 3. Define more on your own terms. What does it really mean to want more? For most people, the idea of more has been defined by someone else. More money, more possessions, more status, more followers. Society has shaped the word into something that often feels shallow or materialistic. But the truth is, wanting more isn't about chasing what everyone else values. It's about defining what you value and aligning your life with it. The audiobook Never Apologize for Wanting More reminds us that more is not a number, it's a feeling. It's the sense of fullness, peace, and purpose that comes from living in harmony with what truly matters to you. For one person, more might mean building a thriving career. For another, it could mean more time with family, more freedom to travel, or simply more inner peace. The problem is that many people spend their lives climbing ladders that lead to someone else's version of success. They reach the top, look around, and realize they never wanted to be there in the first place. Defining more on your own terms begins with clarity. You must ask yourself questions that go beyond the surface. What makes you feel alive? What kind of work brings you satisfaction, not just income? What kind of relationships make you feel supported and seen? What does balance look like for you? Without honest reflection, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparison, believing that your life should look like someone else's highlight reel. But your desires, your background, your dreams, they are uniquely yours. You cannot copy another person's definition of more and expect fulfillment. Start by getting quiet. Step away from the noise of social media, trends, and opinions. Sit with yourself and listen. What have you always loved? What moments make you lose track of time? These moments hold clues to your version of more. For example, if you find joy in helping others grow, your more might involve mentorship, teaching, or community building. If you feel most alive when you're creating art or writing, your more may come from self-expression and creativity. If you feel peace in nature, your more might be a slower pace of life surrounded by simplicity. It's also important to recognize that your definition of more will evolve. What you desired 5 years ago may not be what you need today. Growth changes priorities. As you learn, experience, and evolve, so will your values. The key is to keep checking in with yourself instead of clinging to old goals that no longer fit. Some people keep chasing ambitions that once made sense, but now feel empty, simply because they're afraid to admit they've changed. But redefining more isn't failure, it's wisdom. It means you're listening to who you are right now. Once you've clarified what more means to you, the next step is to remove guilt from the equation. You don't owe anyone an explanation for wanting a life that fits you. Maybe your more looks smaller, quieter, or slower than what society celebrates. Or maybe it's bigger, louder, and more daring. Either way, you must own it without apology. There will always be people who misunderstand your choices, those who think your dreams are unrealistic, unnecessary, or even selfish. But remember, their opinions are shaped by their definitions of more, not yours. Your task is to stay true to your own compass. Clarity brings peace, but it also brings responsibility. Once you know what you want, you can no longer hide behind confusion. You must begin to align your actions with your values. This doesn't mean you need to overhaul your life overnight. It means you start making small, deliberate decisions that move you closer to your version of more. Maybe that means setting boundaries with work so you can spend more time on what matters. Maybe it means saving money to pursue a passion project. Or maybe it's simply choosing to say no to things that drain you, even when it feels uncomfortable. Every choice becomes a declaration of your priorities. Defining more for yourself also requires honesty about what you don't want. Many people know what they're chasing, but not what they're escaping. They say yes to everything, hoping one of those paths will lead to fulfillment. But clarity comes as much from subtraction as addition. Ask yourself, what no longer serves me? What am I tolerating that keeps me stuck? What patterns or environments make me feel small? Letting go creates space for what's real. The audiobook reminds us that comparison is one of the greatest obstacles to defining more. When you compare your life to someone else's, you stop listening to your own inner voice. You begin to measure success by external standards rather than internal peace. It's easy to forget that everyone's journey unfolds at a different pace. What looks like success for someone else might be suffocating for you. The real goal isn't to be ahead, it's to be aligned. When you live according to your definition of more, life starts to feel lighter. You make decisions that feel authentic instead of forced. You stop chasing approval and start pursuing purpose. You may even find that you need less in order to experience more. Less distraction, less noise, less obligation. More becomes about depth, not quantity. Defining more on your own terms is an act of self-respect. It means you trust yourself enough to decide what happiness looks like. It means you understand that your worth isn't determined by how much you have, but by how deeply you live. And most importantly, it means you're no longer living for appearances, you're living for truth. So, take a moment today to write it down. In your own words, complete this sentence. Having more in my life means, don't overthink it. Let your heart answer. Then read what you've written and notice how it feels. Does it excite you? Does it bring peace? If it feels right, you've found your starting point. The life you deserve is the one that feels like home to your soul. And that begins the moment you define what more truly means for you and no one else. Chapter 4. Choose growth over comfort. Every person eventually faces a defining choice. Stay comfortable where you are, or grow into who you could become. It's a quiet crossroads that appears in different forms. A job that feels safe but unfulfilling. A relationship that no longer challenges you. A dream that feels too risky to pursue. Growth and comfort rarely coexist. One asks you to stretch. The other invites you to settle. The audiobook, Never Apologize for Wanting More, reminds us that real transformation begins the moment you choose growth, even when it feels uncomfortable. Comfort feels good, but it can also be deceptive. It gives the illusion of safety while quietly keeping you stuck. The human mind naturally seeks predictability. It wants to protect you from pain, rejection, or failure. That's why your first instinct, when faced with change, is often resistance. You might find yourself making excuses. Now's not the right time. I'm not ready. Or maybe next year. But these are comfort's whispers, designed to keep you exactly where you are. Growth doesn't happen in that space. Growth happens when you step into uncertainty and trust that you'll figure it out as you go. Think of every major turning point in your life: learning a new skill, starting a relationship, moving to a new place, or changing direction. Each one likely came with discomfort. You might have doubted yourself, questioned your decision, or felt unprepared. Yet, those experiences shaped you the most. They stretched your capacity, taught resilience, and revealed strengths you didn't know you had. That's the paradox. The very moments you want to avoid, the uncertain, uncomfortable, inconvenient moments, are the ones that make you grow. Choosing growth means redefining your relationship with fear. Fear isn't the enemy, it's information. It tells you that you're entering a new territory, that something meaningful is at stake. The goal isn't to eliminate fear, but to move forward in spite of it. The audiobook encourages listeners to view fear as a sign that they're on the right path. If your goals don't scare you a little, they're probably too small. Many people wait for courage before taking action, but courage doesn't come first. Action does. Courage is built in motion, one small risk at a time. The first step will always feel the hardest, because it asks you to trade the known for the unknown. But once you take it, you realize that most of the fear existed only in your imagination. The mind amplifies what it doesn't understand, but experience brings clarity. You learn by doing, by trying, by failing, by getting up again. It's important to understand that growth doesn't mean constant struggle or burnout. It's not about pushing yourself relentlessly. True growth is intentional. It challenges you, but it also nurtures you. It asks you to move beyond your limits, not to destroy them. When you choose growth, you commit to becoming a student of life, to learning, adapting, and expanding without needing to have all the answers. Comfort zones aren't just physical or professional, they're mental. They're made of the stories you tell yourself. I'm not the kind of person who can do that. People like me don't succeed in that field, or it's too late for me. These are invisible walls that feel real because you've repeated them for so long. But they're just words, not truth. The moment you challenge them, you realize how much more is possible. Choosing growth also means being willing to fail. Failure isn't a verdict, it's feedback. Every mistake, every misstep, every disappointment holds information that can help you grow stronger and wiser. Yet, many people let fear of failure stop them before they start. They forget that failure is part of success, not the opposite of it. Every person you admire, every author, artist, leader, or creator has failed repeatedly. What set them apart wasn't perfection, but persistence. They learned, adjusted, and kept going. The audiobook emphasizes that growth is not always dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. It's the decision to speak up when you'd usually stay silent. It's setting a boundary when you'd normally say yes. It's choosing to rest when your instinct is to overwork. Growth happens in the small moments that stretch your character, not just the big milestones you can post about. You may notice resistance from others when you start choosing growth. People who are comfortable with the old version of you might feel uneasy when you change. They might question your choices or even try to hold you back, not always out of malice, but because your evolution challenges their comfort too. Remember, you don't owe anyone your stagnation. Growth can feel lonely at times, but staying small to make others comfortable will cost you far more. One powerful way to commit to growth is to reframe discomfort as progress. The next time you feel nervous or uncertain, say to yourself, "This means I'm growing." It shifts your mindset from avoidance to appreciation. Instead of running from discomfort, you can learn to recognize it as proof that you're evolving. Another helpful practice is reflection. At the end of each week or month, ask yourself, where did I grow? It could be emotional, mental, physical, or spiritual. Maybe you had a difficult conversation, tried something new, or faced a fear. When you track your growth, you realize that even slow progress adds up. Choosing growth over comfort doesn't mean rejecting all ease or pleasure. It means being intentional. Choosing what truly serves your evolution rather than what merely soothes your anxiety. Comfort has its place. It helps you recharge. But if comfort becomes your default, life becomes smaller. Growth, on the other hand, expands your possibilities, your confidence, and your connection to yourself. So ask yourself today, where have I been staying comfortable when I know I'm capable of more? What fear is keeping me still, and what might happen if I took one small step forward? You don't need to leap. You just need to move. Because comfort may keep you safe, but growth will set you free. Chapter 5. Surround yourself with people who think bigger. No matter how determined or disciplined you are, your environment will always influence your growth. The people you spend time with, their energy, their beliefs, their habits, shape your mindset more than you realize. You can have the most ambitious goals in the world, but if you're surrounded by people who constantly doubt, criticize, or discourage you, it becomes harder to sustain your own belief. That's why one of the most powerful lessons from Never Apologize for Wanting More is this: your circle defines your ceiling. When you choose to surround yourself with people who think bigger, you expose yourself to new standards of possibility. These are not necessarily people who are richer or more successful in a conventional sense, but people who live expansively, those who dream without limits, who take responsibility for their lives, who push themselves and others to grow. They don't just talk about problems, they talk about solutions. They don't mock your ambition, they mirror it. And being around that energy changes you. But first, you have to become aware of your current environment. Look closely at the people you spend the most time with. Friends, co-workers, even family. How do you feel after you interact with them? Do they lift you up or leave you drained? Do they encourage your growth, or do they subtly pull you back to who you used to be? Sometimes the people we love most unintentionally hold us back, not because they wish us harm, but because our growth threatens their comfort. When you start to change, it can remind others of the changes they haven't made. It's not about judging or rejecting people. It's about recognizing the energy you're choosing to absorb. Every relationship is an exchange. You give and receive ideas, emotions, and perspectives. Over time, that exchange shapes your worldview. If you're surrounded by negativity, scarcity, or complacency, you start to absorb that mindset without realizing it. You lower your goals. You question your dreams. You convince yourself to stay where it's safe. But when you surround yourself with people who think bigger, something powerful happens. You begin to expand. You start to believe in what's possible because you see it reflected in others. When you hear someone talk about their vision with conviction, it gives you permission to do the same. When you watch someone overcome a challenge with grace and determination, it proves that resilience is real. You stop asking, "Can it be done?" and start asking, "How can I do it?" Big thinkers are not necessarily loud or overly confident. Many are quietly consistent, focused, and intentional. They take ownership of their lives. They admit their fears, but don't let them stop them. They don't gossip about others. They learn from them. They spend less time talking about what they can't control and more time improving what they can. When you spend time in their presence, you can feel your own mindset shifting. You start thinking about growth, opportunity, and contribution instead of limitation. Creating a circle of more-minded people doesn't happen overnight. It takes awareness and courage. You might need to distance yourself from relationships that have become toxic or stagnant. That can be painful, especially if those connections have deep roots. But letting go doesn't mean rejection. It means releasing what no longer supports your evolution. The audiobook reminds us that not everyone can come with you to your next level, and that's okay. Growth requires space. Sometimes, it's not about removing people, but adding new ones. Seek out those who challenge you intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. Look for mentors who are living examples of the kind of life you want to create. Join communities online or offline where ambition, creativity, and purpose are celebrated. Read books, attend events, and listen to people whose words expand your thinking. Even if you don't know them personally, you can still let their mindset influence yours. You become like the people you listen to the most, even from a distance. One of the most transformative steps you can take is to intentionally curate your environment. Make a list of the 5 people you interact with most. Then ask yourself, do these people help me grow? Do they believe in me? Do they celebrate my wins and encourage my progress? If the answer is no, it doesn't mean you have to cut them out completely, but it does mean you should diversify your influences. Spend more time with those who inspire you, and less with those who limit you. People who think bigger will not always agree with you, and that's a good thing. They'll challenge you, they'll ask hard questions, they'll push you to refine your ideas and confront your excuses. Growth doesn't happen in echo chambers. It happens in honest, supportive friction. Surround yourself with people who see your potential clearly enough to call you out when you're playing small. It's also important to remember that surrounding yourself with big thinkers isn't just about what you can get, it's about what you can give. You become part of a cycle of inspiration. When you show up fully, when you share your ideas and experiences, you become a source of strength for others too. The best relationships are those that inspire mutual elevation. You both grow because of each other. Of course, there will be moments when you feel out of place among people who are further ahead. Maybe you'll doubt whether you belong in certain rooms or conversations. But that discomfort is a sign that you're expanding your environment. Don't shrink from it. Stay curious, ask questions, listen. The quickest way to grow is to be surrounded by people who make you stretch. You'll also find that the more you evolve, the more selective you become about who you allow into your space. You begin to value authenticity over approval, alignment over popularity. You start to crave honest conversations instead of superficial validation. You stop chasing people who don't see your worth and start nurturing connections that honor your growth. Surrounding yourself with people who think bigger is about more than success. It's about energy. It's about creating a life filled with optimism, resilience, and inspiration. It's about building a community where dreams are spoken freely and ambition is celebrated, not mocked. When you find or create that kind of circle, you begin to see yourself differently. You start to believe that you, too, are capable of more. The truth is, no one grows alone. Every great thinker, creator, or leader has been shaped by their circle, by the people who challenged them, supported them, and believed in them when they didn't believe in themselves. That's the power of proximity. So, take an honest look at your environment today. Ask yourself, who am I becoming because of the people around me? If the answer doesn't inspire you, it's time to make a change. Begin to build your circle intentionally. One conversation, one connection, one choice at a time. Because the company you keep will either reinforce your comfort or accelerate your growth. Choose wisely. Surround yourself with people who remind you of where you're going, not where you've been. That's how you keep expanding. That's how you build the life you deserve. Chapter 6. Turn vision into action. Dreams, no matter how vivid or inspiring, are only as powerful as the actions they produce. You can read every motivational book, visualize success every morning, and talk endlessly about your goals. But until you take action, nothing in your life changes. This is the heart of Chapter 6, from Never Apologize for Wanting More, Build the Life You Deserve. It reminds us that vision is the spark, but action is the flame. Vision without movement is just imagination. Turning vision into action requires more than motivation. It requires commitment, clarity, and consistency. Motivation is fleeting. It's the rush you feel when you listen to a powerful speech or imagine your dream life. But motivation fades. What sustains progress is discipline, doing what you said you'd do, even when the excitement wears off. The audiobook emphasizes that many people get stuck in the dreaming phase because it feels safe. Dreaming is comfortable. Acting means risk. Acting means you might fail or succeed and be forced to grow into the next version of yourself. But the truth is, no one ever builds the life they deserve by staying still. Your vision is your compass. It points you in the right direction. But it's your actions that move you forward, step by step. The distance between where you are and where you want to be is filled with small, often unglamorous actions. The person who shows up every day, even when they don't feel like it, will always surpass the one who waits for inspiration. The first step in turning vision into action is clarity. Many people say they want more without knowing what that means in concrete terms. I want more success. I want more peace. I want more freedom. These are powerful desires, but they're not specific enough to guide behavior. Clarity transforms vague dreams into actionable goals. Ask yourself, what does success actually look like to me? What specific outcome am I aiming for? How will I know when I've reached it? The clearer your target, the the easier it is to build a plan. Once you know what you want, break it down. Big dreams can feel overwhelming if you look at them as one giant leap. But when you divide them into smaller, measurable steps, progress becomes manageable. Instead of, I want to write a book, start with, I'll write 500 words a day. Instead of, I want to start a business, commit to researching your market this week, building your idea next week, and launching a small test version after that. Small actions compound. Each completed task becomes proof that your vision is possible. Another key to action is consistency over perfection. Many people wait until everything is perfect before they start the perfect time, the perfect idea, the perfect confidence. But perfection is a trap. Waiting for the perfect conditions guarantees that you'll never begin. Growth requires movement, not mastery. The audiobook reminds us that clarity comes after action, not before it. You can't think your way into the perfect plan. You learn what works by trying, adjusting, and trying again. Progress isn't a straight line. It's a messy, winding path filled with lessons. Think of every action as a conversation with your vision. Each step you take is you saying to life, I'm serious about this. And life responds. Opportunities appear, people show up, and resources align not because of luck, but because your energy is now in motion. When you act, you open the door for possibility. But the path of action is not always easy. There will be moments of doubt, frustration, and fatigue. You'll question whether you're doing enough, or if it's even worth it. That's when discipline matters most. The audiobook teaches that discipline is a form of self-respect. It's honoring your word to yourself. Every time you follow through on a commitment, even a small one, you strengthen your trust in your own capability. You prove to yourself that you're reliable, that you keep promises to your future. Accountability also fuels action. Share your goals with people who support your growth. Surround yourself with those who will remind you of your vision when you start to forget it. Accountability doesn't mean pressure, it means partnership. It's having someone who will ask, how's it going? Not to judge you, but to keep you focused. Another important truth is that action must align with intention. Busy work is not the same as meaningful progress. Many people mistake activity for achievement. They fill their days with endless tasks that don't actually move them closer to their vision. Before you start your day, ask yourself, is this action aligned with the life I'm trying to build? If the answer is no, reconsider. Every yes should serve a purpose. Every effort should connect back to your bigger picture. The audiobook also reminds us that taking action doesn't mean losing patience. Real change takes time. Growth is rarely instant. It's gradual, often invisible at first. You might not see results right away, but that doesn't mean your actions aren't working. Seeds take time to sprout. You must be willing to persist even when there's no visible reward. Trust the process. Keep showing up. The results always catch up to the effort. Sometimes, the biggest obstacle to action isn't fear or laziness, it's self-doubt. We hesitate because we think we're not ready or not worthy of the success we desire. But readiness is built through repetition. No one starts out confident. Confidence is the result of consistent action, not a prerequisite for it. The more you do, the more capable you feel. The more capable you feel, the more you do. That's how momentum begins. Action also has a way of clarifying vision. What you think you want often evolves once you begin moving. You might start on one path and discover a new passion or purpose along the way. That's not failure, it's evolution. You can't steer a parked car. Only when you start moving can you adjust your direction. To make your vision real, you must balance two forces, faith and effort. Faith keeps you believing in your dream when results are slow. Effort keeps you grounded in the daily work that brings that dream to life. You need both. Too much faith without effort leads to fantasy. Too much effort without faith leads to burnout. Together, they create sustainable progress. Take a moment to reflect on your own vision. What do you want your life to look like in 1 year? 5 years? What steps can you take this week that align with that vision? It doesn't have to be grand. Maybe it's 1 email, 1 phone call, 1 page written, 1 new habit started. Every small action counts. Because the truth is, no one ever built a meaningful life by waiting. They built it by acting imperfectly, courageously, and consistently. Action is where transformation happens. It's where ideas become reality, where intention becomes impact. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is now. Start with what you have, where you are, and do what you can. And as you take those steps day after day, you'll watch your vision take shape before your eyes. Your dreams are not meant to stay in your mind. They're meant to be lived. And the only way to bridge that gap is through action. Steady, intentional, unapologetic action. That's how you build the life you deserve. Chapter 7. Celebrate who you're becoming. One of the most overlooked but powerful parts of personal growth is learning to celebrate yourself, not for what you've achieved, but for who you're becoming along the way. The audiobook, Never Apologize for Wanting More, Build the Life You Deserve, reminds us that growth is not just about reaching goals. It's about evolving into the kind of person capable of reaching them. And if you only celebrate the finish line, you'll spend most of your life feeling like you're never enough. We live in a culture that glorifies the end result. Success is often measured by what can be seen: titles, trophies, followers, or income. But transformation happens quietly, in the small, unseen moments. The choices you make when no one is watching. The discipline you show when it would be easier to quit. The courage to try again after disappointment. These are the milestones that deserve to be honored. Celebrating who you're becoming means learning to recognize progress that doesn't always show up on paper. Think about how much you've already grown. The person you are today has endured, adapted, and evolved through countless challenges. You've learned lessons that your past self couldn't have imagined. Yet, because we tend to focus only on what's next, we forget to appreciate how far we've come. We rush through victories, dismiss achievements, and downplay milestones. We say things like, "It's not a big deal," or "I still have a long way to go." But the truth is, every step forward deserves acknowledgement. Celebration isn't arrogance, it's gratitude in motion. When you celebrate your growth, you reinforce it. Your mind begins to associate progress with joy instead of pressure. You shift from chasing validation to cultivating appreciation, and that shift changes everything. Instead of constantly striving from a place of lack, feeling like you're never doing enough, you start acting from a place of fullness, knowing that every effort counts. Celebration doesn't have to be loud or public. It's not about showing off or proving anything. It's a personal recognition, a quiet moment of pride. Maybe it's journaling about what you've learned this month. Maybe it's taking a day to rest and reflect on how much stronger or wiser you've become. Maybe it's simply saying to yourself, "I'm proud of how I handled that." These moments of acknowledgement strengthen your relationship with yourself. You begin to see your worth not just in outcomes, but in effort, integrity, and growth. There's also a deeper reason why celebrating yourself matters. It teaches your subconscious that progress is safe. Many people subconsciously sabotage their growth because they're afraid of success. They've never learned to feel comfortable with joy, pride, or accomplishment. By celebrating small wins, you train your mind to accept abundance, to feel deserving of good things. You expand your capacity for happiness and self-worth. But what if you're still in the middle of your journey? What if life doesn't look like you want it to yet? That's when celebration matters most. It's easy to appreciate yourself when everything is going well. The real power lies in honoring yourself while you're still figuring it out. When you can look at the unfinished chapters of your life and still find reasons to be proud, you begin to live from a place of deep peace. The audiobook reminds us that becoming isn't linear. Growth happens in cycles, times of expansion followed by times of stillness, clarity followed by confusion. You won't always feel like you're making progress, but that doesn't mean you aren't evolving. Sometimes, growth looks like slowing down, letting go, or resting. You're still becoming, even in the pauses. Learning to celebrate that process keeps you grounded in faith rather than frustration. Reflect for a moment on how you've handled challenges this year. Maybe you faced rejection and chose to keep going. Maybe you learned to set a boundary for the first time. Maybe you spoke your truth, forgave someone, or took responsibility for a mistake. Those are victories. They may not be glamorous, but they shape your character, the foundation for everything else you'll build. Celebrate that. It's also important to release the habit of self-criticism. Many people believe that being hard on themselves will make them better, but in reality, it often leads to burnout and resentment. You don't grow faster by beating yourself up. You grow faster by acknowledging effort, learning from mistakes, and moving forward with compassion. The audiobook teaches that you can't shame yourself into transformation. You can only love yourself into it. Celebration is an act of self-love. It's saying, even though I'm still learning, I honor who I am today. Celebrating your becoming doesn't mean you stop striving. It means you learn to enjoy the process instead of postponing joy until everything is perfect. There will always be another goal to chase, another level to reach. If you can't appreciate yourself now, you won't magically start when you achieve more. The habit of self-acknowledgement must be built now, where you are, with what you have. Another reason celebration is powerful is that it keeps you motivated. Progress without recognition feels empty. You begin to lose sight of why you started. When you pause to appreciate the small victories, you renew your energy and enthusiasm for what's next. You remind yourself that the effort is worth it. It becomes easier to keep going because you see that growth is happening, even if the final destination is still far away. One simple practice suggested in the audiobook is to keep a growth journal. Each week, write down one thing you did that stretched you beyond your comfort zone. It could be something major or something small, having a difficult conversation, waking up earlier, finishing a project, or simply choosing kindness when it wasn't easy. Over time, you'll have a written record of your evolution. When doubt creeps in, reading your own progress reminds you that you're always moving forward. Celebration also invites gratitude. When you take time to acknowledge your growth, you naturally begin to appreciate the people, opportunities, and lessons that supported it. You see how every challenge shaped you, how even painful experiences contributed to your strength. Gratitude transforms your perspective. Instead of seeing obstacles as punishment, you begin to view them as part of your preparation. You realize that everything has been working for your becoming. Finally, celebrating who you're becoming is an act of liberation. It frees you from the constant chase of external validation. You stop needing approval to feel worthy because you recognize your own progress. You stop comparing your journey to others because you know you're on your own timeline. You stop apologizing for wanting more because you see that growth is your natural state. The truth is, you will never be a finished product, and that's the beauty of it. You are a living, evolving being, constantly learning, expanding, and unfolding. Every version of you deserves recognition. Every chapter of your story, even the messy ones, has value. So today, take a moment to pause, look back at where you started, Think about the fears you've faced, the lessons you've learned, and the strength you've gained. You may not be exactly where you want to be yet, but you are so much further than you were. That's worth celebrating. Because life isn't just about what you achieve, it's about who you become in the process. And when you learn to honor that becoming, you don't just build the life you deserve, you become the kind of person who knows they deserve it. Chapter 8. Live unapologetically, the freedom of authentic living. At the heart of never apologize for wanting more, build the life you deserve, lies one ultimate truth. Living unapologetically is the highest form of freedom. After you've learned to embrace your desires, define your version of more, take action, and celebrate your growth, you reach a point where the most powerful thing you can do is simply live fully, boldly, and without apology. Living unapologetically does not mean being reckless or disregarding others. It means living with integrity, being true to your values, your voice, and your vision. It's about shedding the masks you've worn to please people, the habits you've kept to fit in, and the fear that has kept you quiet. It's about standing tall in who you are and giving yourself permission to take up space in your own life. So many people go through life shrinking. They minimize their accomplishments so others don't feel uncomfortable. They silence their ideas in rooms where they fear judgment. They settle for less because they were taught that wanting more is prideful or selfish. Over time, this self-denial becomes normal, even noble, but it isn't. It's self-abandonment, disguised as humility. True humility is not about making yourself small. It's about recognizing your worth and using it to serve with authenticity. To live unapologetically, you must first let go of the need for approval. The truth is, not everyone will understand your journey, and they don't have to. Some will misunderstand your confidence as arrogance, your ambition as greed, your independence as rebellion, but their opinions are not your truth. When you live for approval, you give away your power. Every decision becomes filtered through fear. Fear of rejection, fear of criticism, fear of being too much. Living unapologetically means reclaiming that power. It means trusting that your intentions are good and that your purpose matters, even if others can't see it yet. The audiobook reminds us that authenticity is magnetic. When you stop trying to fit into roles that weren't designed for you, you naturally attract people and opportunities that align with who you really are. Pretending to be someone else might earn you temporary comfort, but it will never bring you lasting peace. Your soul knows when it's pretending. Living unapologetically is about alignment, your thoughts, words, and actions all pointing in the same direction. There's also an emotional freedom that comes with authenticity. You no longer carry the burden of pretending. You stop performing and start existing. You no longer chase validation because you are grounded in self-respect. You speak honestly, love deeply, and make decisions from conviction instead of convenience. That kind of living is rare, but it's where real peace resides. Of course, authenticity requires courage. It takes courage to say no when everyone else says yes. It takes courage to leave behind paths that no longer fit. It takes courage to express your truth, especially when it's unpopular. But as the audiobook reminds us, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the willingness to act despite it. Every time you choose authenticity over approval, you strengthen that muscle. It gets easier with practice. Living unapologetically also means taking responsibility for your life. You stop blaming circumstances, people, or timing. You realize that no one is coming to save you, and that's liberating. You have the power to design your life intentionally. You can choose your mindset, your company, your habits, and your priorities. You can rewrite your story at any time. Freedom is not about control. It's about ownership. To live unapologetically you must also embrace imperfection. Too many people wait until they have everything figured out before they show up fully. They hide behind excuses like, "I'm not ready," "I don't know enough," or "what if I fail?" But authenticity thrives in imperfection. It's about showing up as you are, real, flawed, and growing. People connect to truth, not perfection. When you allow yourself to be seen in your becoming, you inspire others to do the same. A key part of unapologetic living is learning to set boundaries. Without boundaries, your energy becomes scattered and your purpose diluted. Boundaries protect your peace, your focus, and your time. Saying no isn't rude, it's necessary. Every yes to something misaligned is a no to something meaningful. When you set boundaries without guilt, you communicate to the world and to yourself that your well-being matters. The audiobook teaches that living unapologetically is not just a mindset, but a daily practice. It shows up in small choices, saying what you mean, dressing how you like, pursuing what excites you, resting when you need to, and expressing emotions honestly. It's not about perfection or rebellion, it's about congruence. Your inner world and outer world begin to match. Another important truth is that living unapologetically doesn't mean you'll never face doubt or criticism. In fact, you might face more of it. The brighter you shine, the more attention you draw, and not all of it will be kind. But the difference is that now, criticism no longer defines you. You learn to listen to feedback without internalizing it. You take what's useful and release the rest. You stop explaining your worth and start embodying it. This chapter also reminds us that unapologetic living inspires others. When people see you being true to yourself, they begin to question where they've been hiding in their own lives. Your authenticity gives others permission to be authentic too. You become a mirror that reflects possibility, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Living unapologetically also means celebrating your voice. Speak your truth with confidence, not hesitation. If something matters to you, express it. If you believe in something, stand by it. The world doesn't need more silence. It needs more sincerity. You don't have to shout to be heard. Just speak clearly, from the heart. People remember authenticity long after they forget perfection. And remember, living unapologetically is not selfish. It's self-honoring. When you live aligned with your truth, you naturally become more generous, more creative, and more compassionate. You can only give freely when you're not drained by pretense. Your authenticity becomes your greatest contribution. Take a moment to reflect. Where in your life are you still apologizing for who you are? Are there places where you play small, hide your light, or silence your truth to keep others comfortable? Be honest with yourself. Awareness is the first step toward liberation. Because the truth is, you don't owe the world an apology for being yourself. You owe it your honesty, your gifts, and your growth. You were not meant to blend in. You were meant to live out loud, in full color, as a living example of what's possible when someone stops pretending and starts being. So live boldly, speak truthfully, dream openly, take up space without guilt. And when doubt tries to whisper that you're too much, remember, you're exactly as much as you were meant to be. This is what it means to build the life you deserve, a life that reflects your truth, honors your worth, and radiates your freedom. A life lived without apology. Chapter 9. Build the life you deserve. Everything you've learned so far, from embracing your desires to defining what more means for you, from choosing growth over comfort to celebrating your evolution, leads to this: building the life you deserve. This final step isn't about chasing perfection or waiting for a flawless future. It's about consciously designing a life that reflects who you truly are. The audiobook, Never Apologize for Wanting More, Build the Life You Deserve, reminds us that a deserving life isn't something you stumble upon. It's something you build, one choice, one boundary, and one courageous step at a time. It's the result of aligning your thoughts, your actions, and your beliefs so completely that your outer world begins to mirror your inner truth. Building the life you deserve begins with belief, the deep, unshakable knowing that you are worthy of more, worthy of joy, worthy of success, worthy of peace. Many people never reach this point because they quietly doubt their worth. They tell themselves that happiness must be earned through suffering, that love must be proved through sacrifice, that peace must be postponed until everything is perfect. But life doesn't work that way. You don't wait to deserve joy. You decide that you are already worthy of it and begin to build from there. To build the life you deserve, start with vision. Ask yourself, what does a meaningful life look like to me? Not what you were told to want, not what others expect of you, but what you truly crave in your heart. Maybe it's freedom time to explore, create, or rest. Maybe it's connection, deep relationships that nourish your soul. Maybe it's purpose, the feeling of making a real difference in the world. Your vision is the blueprint. Without it, you'll keep building according to someone else's design. Once you have a vision, you must take ownership. No one else can build this life for you. Waiting for permission or for the right moment will only delay your progress. You build by deciding. You build by showing up. You build by turning someday into today. Even the smallest actions matter. A single conversation, a single habit, a single decision can shift the course of your life. But building the life you deserve doesn't mean everything will be easy. Growth is uncomfortable. Transformation requires letting go of old patterns, limiting beliefs, and environments that no longer serve you. Sometimes it means walking away from comfort or relationships that keep you small. Sometimes it means starting over. But every ending is also an opening. You cannot create a new life while clinging to the old one. The audiobook reminds us that deserving doesn't mean entitled. You don't build a meaningful life by demanding it from others. You build it through responsibility, integrity, and alignment. You take ownership of your emotions, your time, and your choices. You stop blaming circumstances or waiting for luck to change. You begin to ask a more powerful question. What can I do with what I have right now? That's where empowerment begins, not in what you can't control, but in what you can. To build a life that feels right, you must also design it intentionally. Too often, people build their lives reactively, saying yes to every demand, chasing what looks good on paper, living by default instead of by design. But the life you deserve won't appear by accident. It requires clarity, boundaries, and alignment. Designing your life means curating it. Look at every area, your work, your relationships, your environment, your health, your routines, and ask, does this reflect who I am becoming? If the answer is no, it's time to make adjustments. This process isn't about perfection, it's about honesty. When something drains your energy or distracts you from purpose, it's a sign. Every no you say to what's misaligned creates space for a bigger yes to what matters. Building the life you deserve also means defining success for yourself. Society's definition, status, wealth, recognition might not fit your soul. True success feels peaceful. It feels like waking up excited for your day, feeling proud of how you live, and going to bed knowing you stayed true to yourself. That's success, not comparison, not competition, but congruence between your inner world and your outer life. Another truth is that the life you deserve isn't static. It evolves as you evolve. What fulfills you now may not fulfill you 5 years from now, and that's not failure, it's growth. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to outgrow dreams that no longer fit. The key is, to stay aligned with your truth at every stage. Life isn't about holding on, it's about continuously creating what feels right now. Gratitude is also part of the foundation. You can't build a fulfilling life from resentment or lack. Gratitude grounds you in the present while you reach for more. It helps you appreciate what's already working while you refine what isn't. When you approach life with gratitude, you stop chasing fulfillment and start cultivating it. You realize that building the life you deserve isn't about acquiring more things, it's about creating more meaning. As you build, remember to rest. Growth isn't a race, it's a rhythm. There will be seasons of intensity and seasons of stillness. Both are necessary. Rest allows integration. It's the space where wisdom takes root. Don't confuse rest with laziness. Rest is respect for your energy, your creativity, and your well-being. A sustainable life requires balance, not burnout. And finally, remember this: you deserve the life you imagine not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. You are a human being capable of love, creation, and purpose. You deserve joy simply because you exist. The more you internalize that truth, the more powerfully you can build. The audiobook closes with a reminder: you are the architect of your own story. The tools are already in your hands, your choices, your courage, your mindset. You don't need to wait for someone else to hand you permission or opportunity. You are the opportunity. You are the permission. So, begin now. Build slowly, intentionally, with love. Build a life that reflects your soul, not society. Build a life filled with meaning, peace, and purpose. And above all, build it unapologetically, because you, just as you are worthy of more than you've ever been told. That is what it truly means to build the life you deserve. Chapter 10. Never stop becoming the journey beyond more. If Never Apologize for Wanting More, Build the Life You Deserve teaches one ultimate truth. It's that the pursuit of more is not a destination, it's a lifelong journey. The path doesn't end once you've built a life that feels fulfilling. True growth means continuing to evolve, continuing to expand, and continuing to become. The desire for more isn't a phase you outgrow. It's the natural rhythm of the human spirit, the pulse that keeps you learning, exploring, and awakening to deeper layers of yourself. To never stop becoming means to honor your evolution without fear or resistance. It means understanding that who you are today is not the final version of you. You are a living process, constantly unfolding, constantly being shaped by experiences, choices, and awareness. The version of you that exists now is the foundation for the next, and the next will give birth to another. That's the beauty of life. It's never static. It's a continuous unfolding of your highest potential. But many people resist this truth. They build something stable, a career, a relationship, a routine, and decide they've arrived. They start protecting what they've built instead of expanding upon it. They confuse comfort with completion. Over time, that protection turns into stagnation. The very structure they worked so hard to create becomes a cage that limits further growth. This chapter reminds us that to live fully, we must stay open to change, to curiosity, and to reinvention. Becoming never ends because purpose itself evolves. What fulfills you today might not fulfill you in 10 years, and that's not inconsistency. That's expansion. Just as a tree continues to grow new rings throughout its life, you are meant to deepen with each season. What once challenged you may later feel effortless. What once inspired you may no longer ignite you. That doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're being called toward a new chapter. To continue becoming, you must learn to let go gracefully. Growth always demands release. You can't hold on to outdated dreams, identities, or environments and still move forward. You must be willing to release even the good things, the habits, roles, and definitions that no longer reflect who you are becoming. It's hard, because we build attachment to what's familiar. But the longer you cling to who you were, the harder it is to step into who you could be. The audiobook teaches that transformation is not about abandoning your past, it's about integrating it. Every version of you has served a purpose. The one who struggled taught you resilience. The one who doubted taught you humility. The one who failed taught you wisdom. When you look back with compassion instead of judgment, you carry forward the lessons without the limitations. That's how you grow without bitterness, by honoring every step of the journey. Becoming also requires curiosity. The moment you stop asking questions, you stop evolving. Stay curious about yourself, about others, and about life. Ask, what else is possible? What haven't I discovered yet? What's calling me now? Curiosity keeps your soul alive. It prevents you from settling into complacency and keeps you open to new opportunities that might otherwise pass you by. But continual becoming doesn't mean endless striving. It's not about restlessly chasing goals or feeling like you're never enough. It's about deepening presence, learning to experience each moment fully while remaining open to what's next. You don't have to force growth, you just have to stay awake to it. The process will unfold naturally when you're willing to listen. There will be seasons of acceleration and seasons of stillness, times when everything moves fast and times when life asks you to pause and reflect. Both are essential. Stillness allows you to realign. Movement allows you to expand. Becoming is the dance between the two, knowing when to act and when to allow. Never stopping your evolution also means accepting impermanence. Everything in life, relationships, success, identity, even dreams will shift. Nothing is meant to stay the same. The more you can accept this truth, the freer you become. You stop clinging and start flowing. You stop fearing change and start trusting it. You realize that every ending is simply another beginning in disguise. One of the most profound lessons in this chapter is that the more you seek will eventually become less about what you can achieve and more about who you can be. In the early stages of growth, you might chase external markers of success. But as you evolve, you realize that the most meaningful more is internal. More peace, more wisdom, more compassion, more authenticity. You begin to measure your life not by how much you have, but by how deeply you live. To never stop becoming also means staying connected to purpose. Purpose isn't a single mission carved in stone. It's the thread that weaves through every chapter of your life. It evolves with you. What feels meaningful now will mature over time, and that's how it should be. The key is to keep listening. Keep asking, what wants to be expressed through me right now? That question will always guide you toward your next level of growth. And along the way, don't forget to celebrate the unfolding. Too many people treat self-growth as a project to complete. But becoming isn't a task, it's a way of being. It's living with curiosity, gratitude, and intention. It's finding joy in the process rather than waiting for the perfect outcome. When you live this way, life stops feeling like something to control and starts feeling like something to experience. As you continue becoming, you'll notice that the people around you will change too. Some will grow with you, some will drift away. Both are natural. You'll attract new relationships, new challenges, and new opportunities that match your evolving energy. Don't resist it. Each person and experience enters your life for a reason to teach, to mirror, or to support your next phase. The audiobook closes with a profound message. Never stop becoming means never stop loving the journey. Even when it's hard, even when you can't see the full picture, even when you're uncertain. Because the journey is the destination. There is no final arrival point where everything is perfect and complete. The joy of life lies in the constant discovery of what else you can become, create, and experience. So, take a deep breath and look at where you are. You've grown. You've shed layers. You've stepped into more courage, more clarity, more purpose. But this isn't the end. It's the continuation of a lifelong unfolding. There's still more of you to discover, more love to give, more life to live. Never apologize for that hunger for expansion. It's not restlessness. It's your soul's desire to keep evolving. You were never meant to stay the same. You were meant to rise, to stretch, to transform. So keep walking, keep learning, keep becoming. And remember, the life you deserve is not a destination you reach. It's a journey you live, every day, in every choice, with every breath. That's the true meaning of never apologizing for wanting more. It's not just about building a better life. It's about continually becoming a fuller, freer, truer version of yourself again and again, without end. Chapter 11. The Power of Alignment, Living in Harmony with Who You Are. As Never Apologize for Wanting More Build the Life You Deserve reaches its final chapters, it reminds us of something deeper than ambition, deeper even than achievement, the quiet but transformative power of alignment. Alignment is what happens when your beliefs, desires, values, and actions move together in the same direction. It's when the life you live on the outside matches the truth of who you are on the inside. Many people chase success, happiness, or fulfillment, but never feel whole because they're out of alignment. They say one thing but do another. They dream of freedom but keep choosing situations that trap them. They crave peace but stay surrounded by chaos. Alignment is about bridging that gap, about bringing your life back into harmony so that every choice reflects your authentic self. When you live in alignment, you stop fighting against yourself. You no longer feel like you're pushing uphill every day. Things begin to flow naturally, not because life becomes easier, but because you've stopped resisting your own truth. Alignment begins with honesty. You can't align with who you are if you don't know who that is. Too often, people live according to borrowed identities, the expectations of parents, partners, culture, or community. They build lives that look successful, but feel empty because they were designed for someone else. The first step toward alignment is radical self-honesty, asking yourself, what do I really want? And being brave enough to tell the truth, even if that truth disrupts everything around you. It takes courage to admit when you're out of alignment. Maybe you've been in a job that drains your creativity, but you stay because it's stable. Maybe you're in a relationship that's safe but no longer inspiring. Maybe you've been chasing goals that no longer excite you, simply because you've invested too much time in them. The human instinct is to cling to what's familiar, even when it hurts. But staying misaligned costs more than change ever will. Misalignment drains your energy, dulls your spirit, and creates a quiet ache that no external achievement can fix. Living in alignment doesn't mean your life will be perfect. It means it will be true. You may still face challenges, but they'll feel purposeful. You'll still work hard, but it will be work that feeds your soul. You'll still face uncertainty, but it will be rooted in trust rather than fear. Alignment gives meaning to effort. When you're aligned, even the difficult days feel worth it, because you know why you're doing what you're doing. The audiobook explains that alignment is not just an emotional or spiritual concept, it's practical. Every decision you make either pulls you closer to or further from your truth. The foods you eat, the people you spend time with, the thoughts you entertain, the commitments you accept, all of these shape your alignment. To build the life you deserve, you must become deliberate about your choices. Ask yourself daily, is this decision in harmony with who I want to become? One of the greatest indicators of alignment is how your body feels. Your body doesn't lie. When you're in alignment, you feel lighter, more energetic, more at peace. When you're out of alignment, you feel tense, anxious, or drained. Pay attention to those signals. Your intuition speaks through your body long before your mind understands what's wrong. Listening to that inner voice and trusting it is one of the most powerful ways to stay aligned. The process of alignment often begins with slowing down. It's hard to hear your truth when your life is filled with noise. Many people mistake busyness for purpose. They move so fast that they never stop to ask whether their motion has meaning. Stillness is where clarity lives. Take time to pause, to reflect, to listen, to reconnect. Journaling, meditation, or spending time in nature are powerful ways to return to yourself. The goal is not to escape the world, but to come back to it with greater awareness. Alignment also requires boundaries. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your values, you create internal conflict. You begin to live split between obligation and authenticity. Boundaries are not walls. They are guardrails that keep your energy moving in the right direction. They protect your focus, your time, and your peace. Setting boundaries will sometimes disappoint others, but people who truly respect you will understand. Remember, saying no to what's wrong makes room for what's right. Another key to alignment is integrity, the ability to live in truth even when it's inconvenient. Integrity is doing the right thing when no one is watching. It's keeping promises to yourself as faithfully as you keep them to others. When your actions reflect your principles, you build self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of freedom. You can't feel at peace if you're constantly betraying your own values to please others. The audiobook reminds us that alignment without integrity is impossible. But alignment isn't static. As you evolve, so will your definition of what feels aligned. What's right for you now might not be right later, and that's okay. Alignment grows with awareness. The more you know yourself, the more precise your life becomes. Each chapter of your journey invites deeper alignment. You start with big shifts, leaving what's clearly wrong, and move towards subtle refinements, tuning your life until it hums with truth. Living in alignment doesn't mean life will be free of challenges. In fact, sometimes alignment will require hard choices, walking away from comfort, confronting fears, and letting go of what's familiar. But it also brings peace that no comfort zone can provide. When you're aligned, you stop questioning your path, even when it's hard, because it feels right. You trade external certainty for inner peace. One of the most profound aspects of alignment is how it ripples outward. When you live in truth, you unconsciously give others permission to do the same. Your presence becomes a reminder that authenticity is possible. You don't have to preach or persuade, your example becomes the message. Alignment is magnetic. It draws toward you the people, opportunities, and experiences that resonate with your frequency. The audiobook describes alignment as the meeting point between purpose and peace. Purpose gives your life direction. Peace gives it depth. Without purpose, peace becomes stagnation. Without peace, purpose becomes struggle. Alignment unites the two, a life of motion and meaning, flow and fulfillment. So, how do you begin to live in alignment today? Start small. Choose one area of your life that feels off, maybe your work, your health, or your relationships. Ask yourself what alignment would look like there. Then take one small action in that direction. It could be setting a boundary, speaking your truth, or ending a pattern that no longer fits. Alignment doesn't require radical change overnight. It's built through consistent, intentional choices that honor your truth. And as you move forward, remember, alignment is not about perfection. It's about honesty. It's not about never falling out of balance. It's about returning to yourself each time you do. Life will pull you off course, responsibilities, distractions, and fear will test your clarity. But as long as you keep coming back to what feels true, you will always find your way home. When you live in alignment, you no longer chase happiness, you embody it. You no longer seek validation, you radiate confidence. You no longer ask permission to be yourself, you simply are. Alignment turns life from a struggle into a symphony, every part working together in harmony. That is the essence of living unapologetically and building the life you deserve. To align your soul with your choices, your dreams with your actions, and your heart with your reality. Alignment is where authenticity meets peace, and where life finally begins to feel like your own. As Never Apologize for Wanting More, Build the Life You Deserve comes to its close, it leaves us with a truth that echoes long after the last word. You were never asking for too much, you were simply asking for what was already meant for you. The entire journey from embracing your desires, choosing growth, taking action, and aligning with your truth has been about one thing: coming home to yourself. Building the life you deserve isn't about chasing an extraordinary future somewhere out there. It's about realizing that the foundation of that life begins inside you. It begins with permission, the permission to want, to dream, to change, and to rise. Every step you take toward your potential is an act of self-honoring. Every boundary you set, every truth you speak, and every small act of courage is you reclaiming ownership of your life. The life you deserve is not built in a single breakthrough or moment of success. It's built quietly, through daily choices, the kind that reflect your worth even when no one else sees them. It's built in the mornings when you choose discipline over doubt, in the evenings when you reflect with gratitude instead of comparison, and in the in-between moments when you choose faith instead of fear. There will be seasons of doubt and times when the path feels uncertain. But remember, uncertainty is not a sign that you're lost. It's proof that you're still growing. Becoming who you are meant to be means constantly outgrowing who you once were. Every chapter of your story, even the hard ones, has been leading you here, to a life lived with purpose, courage, and authenticity. Never apologize for wanting more meaning, more love, more freedom, more peace. Wanting more doesn't make you ungrateful, it makes you alive. Your desires are not demands, they are directions. They are life's way of calling you toward expansion. The more you listen to that call, the more aligned, fulfilled, and whole you become. So, as you move forward, remember the lessons. Let desire guide you. Let action ground you. Let gratitude steady you. Let alignment free you. Keep dreaming, keep becoming, and keep choosing yourself, not from arrogance, but from awareness that you are worthy of the life you imagine. And when the world tries to make you feel guilty for wanting more, stand firm in this truth. You are not here to shrink. You are here to shine. You are here to grow, to serve, to love, and to live without apology. Because the life you deserve isn't out of reach. It's already unfolding in every choice you make, in every boundary you draw, and in every brave step you take toward the person you're becoming. So step forward. No guilt, no hesitation, no apology. Just you living, expanding, and embracing the more that was always meant to be yours.